Hello, 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 hello. So I just turned on this video today because I was just literally I just spoke to my daughter actually. Hello, my name is Asherah. I probably should start with that, shouldn't I? And welcome to my PhD research proposal into shamanism. And more importantly, I'm looking at the cross between mental health and spiritual awakening or spiritual expansion. So the actual kind of gist of things that I'm looking at is something called IDI, which is dissociative identity disorder / psychosis, and I'm looking at that in comparison with conscious expansion. All right, and I'm looking at myself as both the PhD researcher, and I'm also looking at myself as the subject, as in the specimen being researched at the moment. And the reason behind that is that I've always been a psychic and I've always been a medium from as far as I can remember. So I started seeing ghosts from as young as 4 or 5 that I've got memories of. But in 2024, I went through a really, really significant spiritual expansion, which led to me being sectioned under the Mental Health Act. And I was actually sectioned and put in a psychiatric unit for about 3 weeks, not voluntary, and then 1 week voluntary. So in total, I spent about 4 weeks in that place. And so far, I haven't actually spoke about what it was like in there because I've just been trying to purge some of the stuff that happened on the run up to that and some of the stuff that has happened after that. But I think the next few videos I will start to kind of disclose about the whole experience, what it was like, how I got myself out of there. If you ever need to get yourself out of my house, call me. Do you know what I mean? Because honestly, these people are fucking dickheads. They are. The people working in mental health services, half of them need to be fucking shot because they really do not know what they're doing. And I say that as someone that's actually has lived experience being in the mental health institution. So unless you do, please shut your mouth. And then I also say that from a perspective of someone who is actually studying mental health at PhD level. So I've done it at degree level, I've done it at master's level. I'm now doing it at PhD level. So I know what the theoretical side of mental health should look like, but I also know what the practical side of mental health now looks like. And they don't correlate basically, but they do correlate in a way, because I think for years people have known that the mental health services, when it comes to treating psychiatric patients, is poor. I think most of the services, to be fair, are poor. And when I say most services, in terms of health, in terms of education, in terms of police, in terms of the justice system, you know what I mean? Because it's just what it is, isn't it? Like the services are just poor as far as I'm concerned. And again, I think that's from the lack of perspective. So kind of going off on a tangent, but if you look at the overall governance, I did a master's in governance. So I have a fair understanding of governance. And if you look at how our political system is set up, and it doesn't really matter if I'm just talking about the UK, obviously I am, because it's the UK political system that I studied at degree level in social policy and obviously master's level in local governance management. But the point is that you've got people making decisions in political positions that have no grassroots experience of what it's actually like to live out those policies. So therefore, they're just making ad hoc policies that almost come flat pack like an IKEA chest of drawer without the instructions. And then you've got all of these local authorities trying to put these chest of drawers together without a properly completed manual or instruction. And that's because the people writing the policy don't actually understand the infrastructure within those industries or sectors. So therefore, it's all guesswork, basically. It's all done on hypothesis. And then they stay in power for about 4 years. It all fucks up and crumbles. And then the next dickhead, literally the next dickhead, comes in and acts like they're going to repair everything and actually does a worse job. And we think that this is accidental, but actually this is deliberate. When you start to kind of dive deeper into the rabbit's hole and kind of looking at the system, etc., they know exactly what they're doing. You can't continue to go on and on and on and on for years and years and years making the same mistakes and not believe that it's not deliberate. because that would be insanity, wouldn't it? Because it is actually insanity to continue to do the same thing over and over again and expect something different. Okay, so I've just seen that my son has finally messaged me back, but he's gonna have to wait. And the reason why he's phoning is because a few videos back I did a shamanic drumming ceremony, and it came through that I needed to do one for him. So I put it to him as a proposal, and he said let him think about it. And then it looks like he's had a think about it, and he's coming back to me. So yeah, interesting. Anyway, so the reason why I've popped on today is I've had such a lovely day. As in, I haven't done much, but I haven't needed to do much. As soon as I got up this morning, Spirit was like, have a look at your like I've got a particular business account, and I've got loads of outgoings out of there. Does that make sense? And I'm like, what the hell, man? You know what I'm saying? Like all of these subscriptions, because I run like a tech company. So they just told me to have a look online and basically sort out some of my subscriptions. So that's what I did this morning. And it was really, really good. I managed to claw back some money and all the rest of it. So fantastic. Then obviously I'm getting ready to travel in a few weeks too. So I also kind of like booked myself into some of the airport lounges, because some of the layovers are quite long. And I just because it's such a long flight too, I need to be comfortable. I just need to be comfortable. So I need lounge access so I can nibble on good food and drink and all the rest of it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's that time, man. You know, it's just that time. You know, I treat myself like the queen and the princess that I am, and Spirit treats me accordingly too. Do you know what I'm saying? So Spirit, as far as I'm concerned, they're my man, they're my mom, they're my dad, they're my brother, they're my sister, they're my companion. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, as long as I got Spirit, I'm good, man. Trust me. Anything else on top of that is a bonus. So also, Spirit told me today to have a look at my boiler, because my boiler's been leaking a little bit. So I had a look at my boiler, and I managed to fix my boiler and stop the leak. Yo, I swear down. Yeah, do you know what I mean? So I'm really, really happy about that, because I was worried about going away and having this little bloody drip, drip, drip thing going on. It's been driving me crazy, but I now know what it is, and basically it just means don't let none of the pitney them touch the boiler. Only I touch the boiler, because they haven't got a clue what they're doing. Well, the boys do, but my daughter doesn't. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, just literally nobody touch the boiler. I just feel in such a good fucking mood. But anyway, two things I want to kind of go into first and foremost, and that is back in November, end of November, December this year, I was doing a video recording, and some entity, as in negative energy, came into my house and physically attacked me. And you can see me on the video stand up and say, yo, there's this heavy pressure in my head. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't take it. So you see me get up on the video and try and go outside the bedroom door. And as soon as I go out the bedroom door, you hear, boof. And I've dropped down a dotty, meaning I've dropped on the floor. And I've got back up and I've tried to come into the bedroom, stumble. But when I come back into the bedroom, the force and the pressure on my head is even more forceful. And you see me on the video go, oh my God, I can't take it. And I go back out to try and get into my daughter's bedroom next door. And before I make it into my daughter's bedroom, I've gone off on the floor in my son's room. I've managed to get back up and then kind of climb into bed with my daughter. I'm still being attacked. So there's all this energy coming at me. But because I'm Spirit's talking to me and they're telling me how to alchemize, there's a show on my daughter's TV called Night School with Tiffany and Kevin Hart. And it's a comedy kind of thing. So as I'm being attacked, the ancestors are telling me, watch the show, pay attention to the show. So as I'm paying attention to the show is quite funny. And actually, Tiffany, who is like the teacher in the class, reminds me of myself, because I'm a head teacher. That's my profession, innit? I've always been in school either as a teacher, a head teacher, a senko, whatever else. But I'm very kind of no nonsense in school because of the kind of children that I work with. So let me put it into perspective. I started my education career in alternative provision. Alternative provision is education outside of mainstream education. So mainstream education would be your government-led schools. A lot of the time when children struggle in those environments, they get excluded and they're passed around from school to school. And then at the end of them being passed around from multiple schools, almost like the schools are like, there's no hope, we don't want them. They then kind of put them over to schools like the schools that me and my ex-husband ran, which are alternative provision schools basically. So if you've got a child that is functional in mainstream school, there's no reason for that child to be in alternative provision. However, a lot of the time it's not just about the behavioural difficulties. Sometimes it's their SEND, special educational needs, not being met, and because of that it can lead to behaviour problems, or it can lead to social issues, or it can lead to emotional or mental health issues. So in that case, those children often get sent to schools like ours. Not only that though, because some of my children, it wasn't so much special educational needs or behavior, it was their high risk in terms of, they're on Birmingham's most prolific sexual exploitation list for child sexual exploitation. So because they're at risk of those kind of things, they come to schools like ours to kind of learn and gain a different kind of understanding, I guess. And they do well. They absolutely excel. So in the area that we live, we're renowned for taking on gangbangers, kids that walk with guns and knives. You gotta have metal detectors at the door and check them on the way in and check them on the way out. And I laugh because actually they're all pussycats, really. Do you know what I mean? The kids are beautiful, they are, but life sometimes makes them have to kind of go on a little bit gangster, but they turn into mush with us. And these kids that are gangster ballers, they don't want to be here. They're kicking off on the first day. They're throwing chairs through windows. They're throwing, honestly, they really do go on with themselves. But within a few days, they settle down and they don't want to leave us. You know what I mean? So that's been my experience. And then obviously from alternative provision, I went into mainstream. And I've been a head teacher at quite a few secondary schools and primary schools. And it's because after being a head teacher for several years and passing my national professional qualification for headship, so I'm not just a head teacher, I am an actual qualified head teacher. I literally then started to go into consultancy, where I was just being airlifted into loads of different schools up and down the country and just flipping them, taking them from like requires improvement to good, or good with outstanding attributes. So I've had an amazing time. I've had an amazing time in the corporate world. And in 2021, I left the corporate world for a number of different reasons, mainly because I was going through divorce and my ex-husband doing stupid, dumb shit like calling up the school and causing trouble and stuff like that. But it was more than that. It was just time. It was like divine timing of spirit telling me that it's time to do my own thing. So since 2021, I've been doing my own thing and I've been loving it. And I think I've been loving it more so because I think it's because I have complete autonomy and I have sovereignty over my life. I decide when I wake up in the morning. I decide when I go to sleep. I go anywhere in the world that I want to go, and I can work from anywhere in the world that I am. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a lifestyle that honestly suits me better. So even though it was really, really scary at the beginning, it's been for the best. So anyhow, as I said, I've ended up in this mental health hospital in 2024. And as much as I'd like to say it was all due to stress from divorce proceedings and whatever, me personally, I don't see it as that. I don't see that divorce and whatever, because I have a very high stress threshold. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've managed a household, a marriage, an ex-husband that's been on the heart transplant list for practically the whole relationship that we were together. I parent 7 children, 2 stepkids, 5 I've had biologically. I'm running my school. I'm helping out with his school. I'm helping out with football. I'm helping out with printing companies. I'm helping family. I'm helping ex-partners. Goddamn, you know what I'm saying? So I've always juggled a lot of balls in the air. So that, to me, doesn't indicate that my situation now is more stressful, because obviously there's less things to deal with because I don't have all of those other commitments. But what I do believe it was is that it was spiritual warfare. It was spiritual attacks, and spiritual attacks that were being sent to me by forces beyond this realm, so beyond the 3D realm. I believe that I was being sent forces that have actually been following me for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. But what happens is that these entities, these demons, these whatever they are, they somehow kind of Mr. Smith themselves. And what do I mean by Mr. Smith? You know, when you watch The Matrix, and it's a normal police officer or a normal person, and then all of a sudden the person starts to shake, and then that person becomes Mr. Smith. That's how these entities work. So you can be a normal person sitting there, and an entity can just literally take over and possess somebody's body. And how do they do that? They do that because they become vibrational matches to them. So it's not something that always happens just like that. Sometimes it's through a person's thought process. So first of all, these entities are on the outside of the individual, and they will whisper things to them like, oh, look at her, she thinks she's so nice, doesn't she? Oh, she's better than you. Do you know, like those kind of little fuckery thoughts start to play. So the person sitting down there, 1 minute they're smiling with you, and next thing you know, they want to, you know what I'm saying? They want to be going on with you. They want to be, they want to be talking about you behind your back. And all these subtle changes the person vibrationally. And before they know it, they start to become a vibrational match to these negative entities that are only around them because they want to get to me or get to you. You know what I'm saying? These entities are not really their friend, because actually by these entities, Mr. Smith in them, they lose parts of their self too. They lose their connection with the divine because they continually, a lot of them, make themselves receptible for these negative energies. And once one of these demons are in you, once you've been Mr. Smith by one demon, there's nothing to stop being Mr. Smith by other demons. In fact, the way that I've seen it and understand it, these demons will call their brethren to come, we've got a body, we've got a body, come in this body, come in this body. So you've got the spirit of jealousy, you've got the spirits of envy, you've got the spirits of bad mind, you got the spirits of take your man, you got these are all spirits. These energies, these feelings, these vibrations all work in cohabited spirits. And the more you become receptible for these spirits, the more likely it is that your outlook on life, your vibrational energy, your viewpoints are going to be vibrating lower and lower and lower and lower, because we have certain emotions that just vibrate in the base chakra level. So when you're talking about sadness, jealousy, envy, bad-mindedness, all of those kind of emotions and energies, they vibrate low. They vibrate very, very low. When you're talking about happiness, you're talking about success, you're talking about inner joy, you're talking about praising the Almighty, you're talking about gratitude. Those things vibrate high. You can tell by the way that you feel when you feel them. When you feel joy, you feel like you're on a high on it.